Hello guys again. So now we're going to take a look at the grammar section of Unit 2, right? The first one. So for those who have their books with them, we're on page 22 over here. So remember, we were working with the text on the Great Fire of London. And now what we need to do, we're going to we're going to take a look at the narrative tenses, and it's actually a review. So remember, narrative tenses are usually past tenses, not all the time, and they help us build scenes so that we can tell a story in a very clear way, so that the people who are listening to us or reading us, they can understand everything that is going on. We usually use the narrative tenses to build the context in which stories and events take place, right? So let's do the first exercise. We have here number 1. You have to match the sentences from the article on page 21 with the tenses, right? One tense is used twice, and then we have to complete the rule. So let's take a look at the sentence. So we have sentence number 1 here. London was sleeping. 2. Thomas Fariner and his workers were busily making bread when suddenly a fire broke out. 3. It hadn't rained for months. And 4. His soldiers demolished a large warehouse. So these are the sentences from the text. And we need to match these sentences here with the tenses. And we have A, past perfect, B, simple past, and C, past continuous. What I want you to do now, guys, I want you to pause the video and match the tenses with the sentences over here. All right? Very good. So, could you do that? So remember that we have 4 sentences and we need to say which tense is in each one, right? So let's take a look at the first one. London was sleeping. So here we have 2 very important elements to analyze. We have the subject, which is London. Then we have the verb to be in its past form. The main verb sleep, but it's using the ing form at the end. And remember, when we have was plus a verb in the ing, it means we're talking about the past continuous. All right? Good. Then number 2. Thomas Fariner and his workers were busily making bread when suddenly a fire broke out. So here at this, we have a very similar situation as in number 1, because we have Thomas Fariner and his workers, so it's they, the subject, were, the verb to be in the past form, the verb make in the ing form. So we are also talking about a past continuous situation, all right? Then 3, it hadn't rained for months. Here, it's a bit different. We have one combination of 2 different verbs here. The main verb of the sentence and the auxiliary verb here, which is have in its past form. Remember, so we use the have in its past form plus a verb in the participle. Remember the list of the verbs, the columns, we have the verb in its infinitive form, we have the past form of the verbs and the participle form, right? So here, as we have the have in the past plus a past participle, it means we're talking about the past perfect, right? And finally, number 4, his soldiers demolished a large warehouse. So here is very different from 1, 2, and 3. Why? Because we only have the verb demolish in its past form, right? Why the past form? How do we know it's only the past form and not the past participle form? Well, because remember that to have the past participle form of a verb, we need to have another auxiliary verb before, just like in number 3, we had the verb had, right? Have in its past form as an auxiliary, so it changes the next verb. But here in number 4, we only have the verb demolish, right, in its past form. So it means we're talking about the simple past. Very good. Let's check our answers. Well done, guys. Okay, now let's come back here because we also have another thing to do in exercise number 1. Remember, we have to complete the rule now. So we use the past perfect, the simple past, or the past continuous to talk about finished actions in the past. 2. Which one do we use to talk about longer actions in the past interrupted by shorter actions? 3. Which one do we use to set the scene, to create the context? And 4. Which one do we use to talk about actions before a certain time in the past? Also, I want you to pause the video now and try to complete these sentences here with past perfect, simple past, or past continuous, right? So pause it now and do this. All right. Could you do that? Was it difficult? Let's check the rule to see if you got it right. So we have here, the rules are, we use the simple past to talk about finished actions in the past. We use the past continuous to talk about longer actions in the past interrupted by shorter actions. 3. We use the past continuous to set the scene, right? So to create the context. And 4, we use the past perfect to talk about actions before a certain time in the past, right? Was it good? Nice. So let's do the next exercise. So let's see exercise number 2. You have to complete the sentences with the simple past or past continuous form of the verbs. So very important here, guys, just 2 options. Either the simple past or the past continuous. We are not going to use the past perfect, right? So let's check the first example here. Sentence 0, right? So while people were running toward the river, right? So just like here in the rule, to talk about longer actions in the past, interrupted by shorter actions, because we have, while they were running toward the river, a warehouse exploded. And then we had the verb run and explode. Do the same thing for sentences 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember to check which one is the sentence that, the part of the sentence that talks about a longer action, and which one is the action interrupting this longer action. Okay, so pause the video now and try to complete sentences 1, 2, 3, and 4 in exercise 2. Okay. Good. Now, let's check the answers for this exercise over here. So we have here, while people were running toward the river, a warehouse exploded. Now, number 1, when they, and we have to use the verb see, how serious it was. They take, this is the verb we need to use, and their possessions, and run away. Okay, run is the verb. So let's see how to complete this. So when they saw, right, because it is a one finished action, they took, because it's also a finished action, and they ran, because it's also a finished action. All right. Then 2, a man for his family when a baby in the street. So we have the verbs look and find. So a man for his family. So here we understand that this is the longer action happening, right? So a man was looking for his family when so when we have this word when, it means that we have the action that interrupts the longer action. So we have to use the simple past, right? So a man was looking for his family when he found a baby in the street. 3. We have while they, and the verb how to stop the fire, it clear that little could be done. So we have two different actions here, a longer action and the one that interrupts. So we need to say that while they were thinking about how to stop the fire, it became clear that little could be done. Okay? And number 4, while the bakery workers bred a small fire, and the verb. So we have verbs make and start. So while the bakery workers were making bread, a small fire started. All right? Did you get close answers to this? Let's check. Well done, guys. So we have here, let's see again. When they saw how serious it was, they took their possessions and ran away. 2. A man was looking for his family when he found a baby in the street. 3. While they were thinking about how to stop the fire, it became clear that little could be done. And 4, while the bakery workers were making bread, a small fire started. Okay, so just to remember the rule, we use the simple past to talk about the finished actions in the past. We use the past continuous to talk about longer actions in the past, interrupted by shorter actions. We use the past continuous to set the scene. And we use the past perfect to talk about actions before a certain time in the past. Okay? So, coming back here, we have another exercise. Down there, exercise number 3. Okay? So, in this exercise, you have to complete the conversation with the correct form of the verbs. You have to use the tenses from exercise 1. Remember the tenses we just checked in the rule. The past perfect, the simple past, and the past continuous. So now, guys, remember, you have to use the 3 tenses. In exercise number 2, we use only simple past, past continuous. Now we are going to use simple past, past continuous, and also past perfect. Check the verbs over here. So we have the verb burn, do, see, run, sit, walk, go, and open, right? So again, pause the video and do this activity number 3. And later come back for us to check. Very good. So let's check the answers for this exercise. So again, you had to complete with either the past perfect, the past continuous, or the simple past, right? So yesterday, as I was walking up to our house, I saw smoke coming from the window, right? So as I was walking up to your house, this is the longer action, which is setting the scene, right? And then the action that interrupted, I saw. Just one moment. Then Ellie continues. Something. So we have to say, was something burning? And then Ian answers, luckily, no. I ran up to the house, opened the door, and there was my brother. He was sitting on the floor in shock. He had been doing science experiments. One of them had gone wrong and exploded, right? So let's check our answers. Well done, guys. Very good. So again, yesterday, as I was walking up to our house, so this is the continuous action, interrupted by the next action. I saw smoke. And then Ellie asks, was something burning? So she wanted to know if there was a longer action going on. Then Ian says, luckily no. And then he describes what he did. He ran up to the house, he opened the door, so finished actions. And then he saw another longer scene going on. He was, and he saw his brother, and he was sitting on the floor in shock. And then the two next sentences happened even before Ian saw the smoke coming from the window, right? Because before Ian saw the smoke, the brother had been doing science experiments, and one of these experiments had gone wrong. So even before Ian saw the smoke coming out from the window. All right? So this one here, remember, narrative tenses, guys. Why do we use them? Again, we use them to create the scene and give the linear time, or you can think about a timeline of the actions happening in the story you want to talk about. Okay, so very good for this time. We're gonna be back later.